and girls, brothers and sisters, and everyone listening on the World Wide Web and beyond. This is The Global Reality with your host, Josh Reeves.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of The Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Friday the 13th, 2015. Thank you very much for being with us. Kind of flabbergasted, can't even speak. It's a crazy friggin' day. But classic for Friday the 13th, huh? No question about it. Boy, I have to say right out of the gates. And, you know, anybody that knows me knows that I'm not afraid to tell it like it is. Guaranteed to offend and not give a fuck. That's me. I gotta say it, though. I'm already fucking sick of Pray for Paris being on all over the social network. I'm already sick of seeing it. And, you know, everybody in my audience at least should know that this is, you know, more phony controlled terror like we've seen. I mean, it's obviously this is staged Israeli Mossad stuff to further their agenda and the rest of it. I mean, I'm not going to beat you over the head with it. You know what it is. But I want to iterate for the sake of the conversation that we are all on the same page, that that's what it is, that it's in no way, shape, or form real terrorism before I say the things I'm going to say here. Because I'm sick of seeing it already. You know, what 150 people are dead. I can remember after 9/11 happened here, you know, if you're not an American, you may not remember this, but France talked all that shit. They did. They talked all that shit on the U.S. Talked all that shit on us. I mean, you guys obviously remember that. I mean, do people in this country, people in the world have that short of memories in this day and age? I mean, they talked all that shit about America to the point where we started calling fucking French fries freedom fries. I mean, how could anybody forget that? Oh, it happened more than a year ago, so that's ancient fucking history. Well, not for some of us. And, you know, I'll just, instead of having to reiterate all this, I made a post earlier on my private Facebook page, and of course, no one liked it, or, you know, it's all these people with their Pray for Paris stuff and putting Paris, you know, French flags. Fuck France. I'm going to say that first off. Fuck France. I don't like anything about fucking France. Fuck France and its dirty shithole. I hate that fucking country. I hate the fucking people. I hate their fucking food. I hate everything about France. I've never had any. If I meet a chick or I meet somebody and they at any point say, "Oh, I love France. I want to go to France." Done. Get out. Bye. I'm not talking to you anymore. Fucking France. They hate Americans. The French hate Americans. They fucking hate Americans. I've met a couple of them. They're the most arrogant, stuck up people in the fucking planet. And all of a sudden, 150 people die in some phony staged event, and we're all supposed to just bow down to France and act like France is the greatest fucking place on earth. And you notice this is being pushed by the Obama administration. I mean, France it's a socialist country, okay? And we're just supposed to forget? I mean, payback's a motherfucking bitch, isn't it, France? We had 3,000 plus, or even more than that if you count, who knows? God knows how many. Probably, they say 3,000, man. It's probably fucking closer to 20, 30, 40, 50,000. If you count all the deaths and the fallout from the towers and people that died after the fact. And, I mean, it's untold how many. And 150 people, more than 150 people. I bet if you went and pulled the statistics, I mean, it's more than 150 people get shot and killed in the United States of America in a week. At least. Probably more than that. Probably 50 times that. But nobody bats an eye about it. And if you do bat an eye and say anything about it, then all of a sudden, well, what? You want there to be gun control? No. Why do you automatically assume that just because I don't like the fact that people die in this country all the time from getting shot, all of a sudden that means I want gun control? No, I don't want that. I know what that leads to. But I mean, they're acting like they're even calling this France's 9/11. And it's not even close. Look it up. Take the death count, and it's not even close. And, I mean, this is what happened. This is exactly what happened in France is exactly what's, going to happen here. Open borders where you let, I'll just read you what I wrote on Facebook earlier. I wrote, 100 people die in France and it's a tragedy, yet 3,000 plus died on 9/11, and they talked all that shit about America to the point where we started calling French fries freedom fries, and we're just supposed to pretend it didn't happen? This is what happens when you allow another country's people to invade your own, and your country sits around with a dry thumb up its ass, letting its population become usurped by an outside culture. Hint, hint, America. More than 100 people get shot and killed every week in this country, yet nobody bats an eye. But because France is a socialist country and America has become one now too, we're just supposed to support them? Fuck France. Not that any of this is real terrorism anyway, just another phony assault by the Mossad in Israel to further justify their actions. Go ahead, delete me, ban me, whatever, I don't care. And one of our great listeners and supporters, Chris, he pointed out, this is before I had read any of the details about this stuff happening. He had pointed out that he was like, you called this. I'm like, I did. People do that all the time. Happens all the time. People are like, hey, man, you called this shit. I'm like, I did? I called that? I didn't know I called that. Didn't realize it. Yeah, you called this. And then I went back and realized, yeah, I did say they probably would try to stage attacks at concerts and stuff like that to further, just further the control system and the Orwellian state, iris scans and all this stuff. We've already had reports of them doing facial recognition scans unknowingly on concert attendees and whatnot. But just about the time I was getting sick of seeing all of this Pray for Paris stuff, all of a sudden there's this thing. There was a prayforparis.com that got put up before this attack even happened with T-shirts and all this stuff saying Pray for Paris on it before the attack ever happened. And now it's been subsequently taken down. If you go to the website now, prayforparis.com, it just says, due to the devastating attacks, we will not be trading for the foreseeable future. Thank you for your patience. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families affected in Paris. They're trying to act like this was not some pre-planned thing. I mean, obviously, folks, we've seen stuff like this happen, with 9/11. How many things have we seen that, like the X-Files? The Lone Gunman, rather. The Lone Gunman, the spinoff from the X-Files. The first episode, the pilot episode where, they hijack an airplane by remote control and attempt to fly it into the World Trade Center. Stuff like that. And here we are, we have this fashion T-shirt campaign, Pray for Paris. And now the company has subsequently quit selling their T-shirts as this happened. But we're supposed to act like this wasn't planned in advance and all this crap. I mean, give me a fucking break. Absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, the American band Queens of the Stone Age, not Queens of the Stone Age, Eagles of Death Metal, which had some members from Queens of the Stone Age in it, were there playing and whatnot. So, and you know, I'm sorry if this pisses you off. I mean, this is exactly. I mean, think about then the Muslim population. You know, they've had open borders there, and they said, oh, we're closing the borders now here in France. Yeah, about fucking time. But this is exactly the kind of thing they want this to happen. They have created conditions for this thing to happen. So even if you don't think that this is somehow a staged event by the Israeli Mossad, which we know it most probably is, even if you're not on board with that, you can't deny that they made the conditions occur for this type of thing to happen. Kind of like the LIHOP versus MIHOP argument for 9/11, the let it happen on purpose versus made it happen on purpose, when in reality it's really just both. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this tonight. I've said my piece, but finding out about that Pray for Paris t-shirt campaign, finding out that, you know, that was going on, and then conveniently when it happens they shut it down. I mean, that's a huge red flag, folks, right there in and of itself. Anyway, thanks for being with us here Friday the 13th. And if that didn't get any stranger, I was going to save this for our news tonight, but this is another thing that had where to go. Let me find it. Here it is. This is another thing that happened today on Friday the 13th. Thousands to be sterilized in global vasectomy-a-thon. Well, that picked a great day to do it, didn't they? Phony stage terror attacks and mass sterilization. I mean, all on Friday the 13th. Yeah, all just a big coincidence, I'm sure. Eugenics and phony terror. You know, I mean, those are two of the hallmarks of these people's playbook, and we get both in one day. But I'm sure it's just all coincidence, right? Yeah, we just live in one big coincidental nightmare. Thousands of men around the world are to be sterilized Friday, and organizers dubbed a global vasectomy-a-thon to encourage men to take a bigger role in family planning and combat resistance to the procedure. Some 750 doctors in 25 countries are to perform the procedure on more than 3,000 volunteers to mark World Vasectomy Day, with many operations being provided for free or at discounted rates. Hey, it's free. Hey, we'll snip your shit for. Hey, it's free. Wouldn't you want to get it? It's free. You know, there's so many people. Oh, well, fuck it. It's free, dude. I ain't got to worry about getting none of these bitches pregnant no more. Just get my shit snipped. Anyway, I just thought that was a little too coincidental there. Global Vasectomy Day and Pray for Paris Day, all on Friday the 13th. I should post that link. There was a link to the Pray for Paris thing with pictures of the t-shirts and whatnot. It's been taken down, but I've got it on I'll post it on our Global Reality Facebook page later after the show, so you can go there and check that out. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. Just to give you an update, I'm still working, trying to get my new film, The Spellcaster, finished. But we're just at a point now where, I mean, I've been trying for the past year to get my projects. I mean, we're just not getting any funding for these projects. I mean, that's just the bottom line here, folks. We need an executive producer and a co-executive producer for this film. You can go to our Global Reality Facebook page, and we have a campaign page there for the Spellcasters. You can click on that, and it'll take you to the page. On the right-hand side, there are the different perks and stuff that you get. And I think that we have one for executive producer, which is like the biggest prize. If it's $1,500, you'll get your name in the executive producer credits, and then $1,000 will get you in there as co-executive producer. And then, of course, you'll get a bunch of prizes and stuff to go along with that. But that's what we need. We got to have it ASAP. We've got, I think, 7 or 8 days left on that campaign. But the bottom line is, if we don't get the rest of what we need to finish this, we can't finish it, because I'm almost done with the film part, but we've got to have, then we've got to do the soundtrack, voiceover editing, all that stuff. And, all that stuff requires a budget to do, on top of, being able to actually get the DVDs and the Blu-rays produced and all that stuff, all that put out, and other costs that are associated with. There always ends up being stuff after the fact that we don't have money for these films, so we're trying to get that nipped in the bud before we get the film out for the first time. So we've got to have help. We've got to have people support these films, or otherwise we're just not going to be able to make films anymore. And that's where the majority of my information comes out at now. It's just the best way to get a lot of this information out. You can't get information across through just radio shows the way you can in films. And this film has the potential to blow the doors off a lot of things, a lot of these fakes and phonies, and just angles of stuff that has not been presented to the public who is interested in this type of work, because the majority of the people that are the main outlets that people interested in this type of work are going to are involved as I've been telling you for years, involved in the very conspiracies they claim to be countering. But nobody's made the connections that I've made, especially with Scientology and those connections and the CIA. I mean, this film is just absolutely groundbreaking. And, you've got an opportunity here to get your name in the film, get credit in the film. And that's how you do it. So, again, please go there. We just need, as per usual, we just got to have some help in here ASAP, folks. I mean, we're down to like $7 here at the network. We had stuff that comes out in the middle of the month. So there's so many little fees and stuff we have that are associated with this, from, hosting fees and Shoutcast server stream fees. We've got fees for the hosting of the 128K archives. We've got fees that come out. I mean, even if I sell downloads, which we haven't sold a lot in the past month, but even when I sell downloads, I then have a bill for the downloads I have to pay for, because I have to pay like 5% for every download I sell, and then every so much for the service. I mean, it's just, they fucking nickel and dime you to fucking death with this shit, man. That's what people don't get about doing this stuff. And then PayPal gets their cut. Everybody gets their cut. I mean, so after we paid our operating costs, here we are at the middle of the month. And, we're barely scraping by every month, and then we're barely scraping by at the end of the month, beginning of the month, and then getting nothing in between. And, it's just ridiculous. And I'm just sick of all the bullshit. I'm sick of all these. Well, I've talked about this before, and I've tried not to beat this dead horse in the ground, but, and I've tried not to make it a project, but I'm going to have to fucking make it a project, because, I just had somebody else send me an email the other day, and they were like, "Oh, I've got some groundbreaking information that I know you'd be absolutely interested to know about, and it involves this and this and this, and I've heard you talk about these subjects, so I know you'd be absolutely interested to hear this. And watch this. Here's a link to a video." They didn't say what the topic was or anything at all in the email. I emailed the guy back and I said, "Look, man, if this is about fucking flat Earth, don't even fucking bother." And sure fucking enough, it was. If you don't hear me talking about this flat Earth operation bullshit, it's because that's exactly what it is. It's an operation. And I'm not going to buy into it, and I'm not going to promote it. And, I tried to be diplomatic about it, but it's become so clear that it's a stage-managed psychological operation and a stage-managed agenda that I've had no choice. And I gave warnings. I said, don't make me make you my pet project. What you don't want is you don't want me to dedicate my time, power, and energy to you if you piss me off. And now I'm pissed off, and now that's what I'm going to do. And I'll tell you why I'm pissed off is because they have completely muddied the waters. It's the thing about it is a lot of these same people that are pushing this stuff, I've found this, a lot of the same people that, again, that push not only the no plane theory stuff, but also push the Jew world order stuff. And with both of those things, they created this climate where if you don't talk about their pet issue, you're somehow the enemy. And I won't stand for that. Just because I don't choose to jump on board with your stage managed agenda does not mean I am a part of that agenda or anybody else. So I started doing some digging on the flat earth thing. I started looking into it and started looking into all of what they have to say. And the thing that blows me away about it, and I found this in my own research, but there are other people who have found this out there too. So it's not like I'm the first and only person that's found this. You can find it too if you go and look. But all of this stuff for hundreds of years, not even just recently, from hundreds of years, even into the present day with the most current crop of people that are pushing this, it's all being pushed by Freemasons. And I've looked at all the information, and believe me, if there was anything to it, I would have been all over it. But here's the thing. I don't have a dog in the race as far as, because as soon as you say that the flat earth thing is an operation, they automatically call you a globe believer or rounder. Look, the only thing out of any of this stuff that I've seen that seems legit is the idea that, the earth is not a globe spinning on an axis at 68,000 miles per hour or whatever. I'll give you that. That seems to be a little fucking fishy. But that, even if that's true, that doesn't mean we automatically jump to the earth is flat. And there are, I'm not going to go into all the voluminous ways why it's not true. The fact of the matter is, this stuff is being pushed by people who are actual Freemasons. And as some of our listeners have pointed out, yes, I'm aware of it. I have not mentioned it, but yeah, that was one of those that Illuminati card game they came out with some years ago. One of them was a flat earth card, and that was long before that was even being pushed hard. And yes, I know this stuff, it's been around for a long time. Every time I talk about this, people say, oh no, I first heard about it 2 or 3 years ago. Well, that may be true, but it didn't become the number one top thing until this year. And really, it's just, it's such an operation. The people who are pushing this are basically doing it to make money off of morons and idiots and Christians. That's people who are really buying into this stuff. And they're making who knows how much money, tons of money doing this. And I believe it's an absolute intentional operation to try and, because what are they trying to gain? What do they hope to gain? They have nothing. They have no kind of thing that they hope to achieve with this. It's all bullshit wrapped in, then we'll know that it means, because if it's true, it means there's a creator. Really? So you need everybody to believe like you believe, 100% the same things you believe, that the earth is flat, for you and everybody else to believe that there's a creator? I don't get that. But that's what they always say. And there's one guy, there's a web page or something somewhere you could probably find, who found a lot of this Freemason. He found a lot of the stuff I did. I started looking into the originator stuff in the Flat Earth Society and all these different people, and even the most current people who are pushing this stuff, and every single one of them are all members of Masonic fraternities. I'm not going to name names, but there's one person in particular who's been pushing this stuff the most recently. He's absolutely a Freemason. He's a fraternal brother. You can go and look this up and verify all this stuff for yourself. I knew this stuff was being pushed by somebody. This is their, this is their payback. This is their pushback. This is the way they've been getting their asses kicked and exposed. And look, I don't believe all Masons are bad. I've said that for years. I've defended Masons for many years. But see, this is now is their way. This is their pushback and their payback for years of being exposed. They're now attacking back at researchers and whatnot like myself and muddying the waters. And not just muddying the waters, but they're making it where other topics don't get focus and attention. They get people wrapped up in it. And I saw the same thing happen in the 9/11 Truth Movement. That's why I moved away from it. And they did the same thing with 9/11 that they're doing with Flat Earth now, where they get people so wrapped up in it that people get consumed by it to the point to where they just don't care about any of the other important issues and other important topics they want to talk about. And I'm sick of this. It's affected me. It's affected my work. And God damn it, it's time to fight back. So as soon as I get my current film projects completed, I'm going to make just a quick film that won't require a big budget. And I'm going to put all that stuff in there, the Masonic stuff, and make a documentary that's going to expose these flat earth clowns, and we're going to put them to bed permanently. You hear me, motherfucker? You hear me talking to you, you piece of shit? You hear me talking to you, you fucking lying cocksuckers? You've been warned. The worst fucking thing you can do is make you my personal pet fucking project. Because when I do, I don't quit. No matter fucking what. So, if you want to help me crush these motherfuckers, then I got to have your support and got to have some financial support in here ASAP to be able to do it. Because I'm talking about getting this done the next, by the first of the year, by at least by January. There's a month and a half, something like that. I got to get this I can't get another project going. I've already got fucking 3 other projects going, but as soon as I get one knocked out, I'm going to add it to the list and make a film, and we're going to put this shit out there, and we're going to put these motherfuckers to bed, because it's all it is. I went and looked at all their evidence. None of this shit holds water. It's all based on a complete lack of understanding of physics, a manipulation of the math. And again, they're basing the whole thing on this idea that the King James Bible is that's their whole fucking thesis. The King, again, another Freemasonic reference. King James, a Freemason who was responsible for the King James Bible. That's their big evidence. It's funny because the Egyptians and the Sumerians, not a goddamn thing about the earth being flat in any of their. The Babylonians, none of them either. Riddle me this, Batman. How is it that, because this is the other thing that these flat earth people say. They say that none of the planets are actually round. And that anytime we see images of planets, they're hologram or CGI. Well, last year, or the last time I went on a trip to film for Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 3, which we're still trying to finish as well, we went to the Mars Hill Observatory, which is in Flagstaff, Arizona, not far from the Grand Canyon, because we went there to film, and we stayed in Flagstaff. And we went up, you can go up to the observatory up there at night, and they've got all these fucking gigantic telescopes. And it's awesome. I mean, it's really awesome. You can go up there and see just stuff and, these massive telescopes that you'll just never get to see, because who can afford these telescopes? Nobody. They're huge. And it's on top of this big mound-like structure in Flagstaff, Arizona. It's fantastic. But we got to go up there and look through a lot of these telescopes at night. And one of the things that we got to see that just blew me away was we got to see Saturn and its rings. And I'm telling you, I saw the fucking thing with my own two eyes, and I saw the telescope get focused and everything else. I mean, the motherfucker was round. The motherfucker was round. I'm here to tell you right now. And it's funny because a lot of the stuff they claim that it's Freemasons who are covering up the flat Earth stuff, but in reality, it's Freemasons who are pushing it. And it's insane, folks. You wouldn't believe how many people are buying into this shit. And they're becoming brainwashed by it. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I've got a friend personally, and that I know, and I'm about to tell him that I can no longer be his friend and no longer talk to him because he just flat refuses to see the truth. And the thing is, if you want to believe something, that's fine, but every time I see the guy, he mentions it, and I'm sick of it. Hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm doing okay on the flat Earth today. I mean, really, dude, you got to work that in. I mean, I already didn't talk to this guy for like 2 years one time because he was so brainwashed by Alex Jones. And then he started taking NLP classes, neuro-linguistic programming. Like, dude, you know that shit came right out of the MK Ultra playbook, right? And I just don't have time for willfully ignorant, willfully brainwashed fucking morons anymore. But going back to what I was saying about the Sumerians have the oldest representation of the solar system ever found. You can go see this for yourself. It's an artifact that shows all the planets in our solar system in the exact order around the sun that they are, with 2 additional planets in there that we don't know about, assuming that those are, Vulcan and Nemesis, the other 2 planets that we don't see. And this predates any telescopes by thousands of years. The Sumerians didn't have telescopes. But yet they got that 100% right. They knew exactly the right location of the planets. And guess what? They're all round. Not square, not fucking flat, round, globe planets. Now, again, I looked into the whole thing about the idea of the Earth rotating on an axis at 67,000 miles per hour, and I'll give you that. There's something shifty about that doesn't seem right. But everything else that they've put out is absolute bullshit. And again, I've tried to let it go, but that's been my thing since the very beginning here, is to expose the phonies and expose the liars. And that's exactly what these flat earthers are. And so, I mean, it just makes sense. I'm the guy that's always exposed the phonies and the liars, specifically in the conspiracy and truther movement. So, I mean, even though as much as I didn't want to have to do this, I mean, it's a fucking no-brainer. It's what I do. And I'm going to do it with your help. So, I really try to be diplomatic about this stuff. I'm not diplomatic about it anymore. I'm going to draw the line in the sand right now. If you believe in the flat earth, go fuck yourself, go kill yourself, go shoot yourself in the head, and die. If you don't believe in it, and you know it's bullshit, and you know it's an operation, I love you, and I welcome you with open arms. They want to draw a line in the sand, and they want to try to affect people like mine, others, ability to get information out. You want to fucking start a war? You want to go to war over this? I'm going to fucking jump in the war now, and I'm going to take all you motherfuckers out. I'm going to expose these phonies and these Freemasons that are putting out this flat earth shit, and we're going to put this stuff to bed permanently. Permanently. So there you go. I've said my piece as far as that goes. All right, let's get into the news here. family of ejected driver sacrificed a lamb to protect him from evil days before fatal crash. What the fuck? The family of a Los Angeles driver who was killed when he crashed his car and was ejected 20 feet into the air into a freeway sign. Oh, I saw this. Yeah, he got ejected 20 feet and he was like dangling from the fucking... I mean, it was a freak accident. That's 20 feet up in the air, dude. Oh, I saw that and I wondered, wow, I didn't realize this was the same case. This is really fucking weird then. Holy shit. Wow, this is some real, honest to God, fucking black magic hoodoo voodoo shit right here, isn't it? Because I remember the day this happened, I saw this news story, like, Jesus Christ, that's crazy, man. I mean, there are highway accidents, freeway accidents, stuff all the time. And I looked around and tried to find any other mention of any other case of this ever happening. Maybe you can look and see if you can find. I've never found another mention of anything like this happening. I mean, the guy was dangling from this fucking thing, basically like crucified from the fucking highway sign. They had performed an animal sacrifice days before, hoping to protect him from harm. Well, it had the opposite effect, obviously. Richard Panayan died when he was tossed from his small Ford after crashing into another vehicle while driving at what California Highway Patrol called a high rate of speed. His body was found on an interstate sign above the wreckage. Now, what's crazy about this is I'd like to know how he was ejected up that far. Because you would think, the natural thing you would think would be, he had to have been shot out the front windshield or whatever, up, into the thing. But when you can see, there's a picture here on this article, and I guess they've got a little blur spot there, I guess, where his dead body was. But you can see the fireman on a ladder on top of the sign getting his body off, and you can see what's clearly his car mangled to shit. But here's what's crazy about it. The airbags are deployed, and the front windshield is intact. So how the fuck did this guy wind up 20 feet in the air up on top of a highway sign with deployed airbags and no smashed windshield? This is some like Final Destination shit right here. This is fucked up. According to his cousin, Pananian's Christian Armenian family had taken the bizarre step of performing the traditional matog lamb sacrifice on October 25th, mere days before his shocking death. The man who identifies himself as Pananian's cousin, Armin Kardashian, he's a Kardashian. Well, there we go. That explains everything. Of Glendale, revealed on a GoFundMe page that the car-loving LA native had close calls before. In the Armenian culture, sacrifices are done when someone escapes death, as Richard's life was once serid, whatever that means. Pananian even used a seatbelt, more commonly seen in race cars. I myself sat in the car with Richard countless times, and he had a 5-point safety harness that he wore all the time. All the time. That's fucking bizarre. I can't even attempt a theory about how this happened, especially seeing the car. But then finding out that he had a 5-point safety harness like you see in a race car. So he was ejected out of a car and found hanging 20 feet in the air on a highway sign from a car that had deployed airbags, 4 deployed airbags, by the way. 2 in the front, 2 in the back. No smashed windshield at all. The front of the car is smashed in. The back of it looks burnt. I mean, the door, there's no information on how this happened. Did he hit another car? It doesn't say. It just says that He crashed his car and was ejected 20 feet in the air. It doesn't say that he crashed into another car. It doesn't make any sense. Because it doesn't show that he hit anything. There's not another car, not another damaged car anywhere. There's nothing around that he could have even hit. This is weird. Reeling as he is, Kardashian admits this tragedy has shaken his once strong faith. If God works in mysterious ways, his way remains a mystery to me and has crushed this family as a whole. Pananian's compact Ford rolled over several times and he was ejected from the car, landing on a freeway sign. California Highway Patrol spokesman Officer Chad Guin said. No one in the other vehicle was injured. Okay, so there was another vehicle. So no one in the other vehicle was injured. We have never seen anything like this, where a party was ejected and come to rest on a street sign. Guin told Inside Edition, saying the man was not believed to be properly wearing his seatbelt at the time of the crash. Well, still, though, I mean, yeah. I'm telling you, man, that's why you don't fuck around with that animal sacrifice bullshit. You don't, I mean, here's the thing, all these religions and cultures, because, I mean, we're really all just playing with stuff, man, that we have no idea the power of. Because just like I was talking about earlier with the King James Bible and all these lies and stuff, all of these religions and all this stuff have been watered down. They've been edited to the point where, people who use this stuff really have no idea. And people think that magic and incantation, all this stuff, are just fairy tales, and it's absolutely not. That's why they want you to believe that it is. That's why they have magicians pulling a rabbit out of a hat and tell you that's magic and that's a magician, when a real magician doesn't pull rabbits out of a hat or do stuff like that. That's not what real magic is about. Now, that's that phony version that they sell us on to get you to believe that it's all hocus pocus bullshit, so that you don't figure out how to use real magic to counteract the magic they use against us. I mean, that's why my film is called The Spellcasters. Because that's what all of this stuff, from mind control, MK Ultra, to the programming and stuff they're using, and people like Alex Jones and whatnot are using, it is black magic. And at the heart of Scientology, it's black magic. MK Ultra, Scientology, all that stuff is based 100% on black magic. Even L. Ron Hubbard's own son said so. And that's why L. Ron Hubbard was given the assignment by the OSS, the precursor to the CIA, to go to England and infiltrate all the Crowley organizations and learn their black magic techniques to bring them back and incorporate them into the MK Ultra mind control program, which he then also incorporated into Scientology. And then, of course, Jack Parsons, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and all the crazy rituals and stuff they did there. But that's what this sounds like to me. If I had to, give this a theory or a guess, I don't think that his family, what the fuck they were doing when they sacrificed this animal for protection. I mean, I just don't see what God or deity? That's what I want to know. What God or deity would give you protection for killing an animal? Oh, great God of protection, protect me from getting in a car wreck and getting thrown 20 feet into the air, and here, I'll sacrifice a goat or a lamb in your honor. I mean, I would be suspect of any god or deity or anything else that wants you to perform death in exchange for his protection or anything. I mean, that right there alone should tell you it's something not to be trusted. So if I had to give it a guess, that's what I think this was. These people were thinking they were sacrificing an animal to something for protection, not knowing they were sacrificing an animal to something that was going to, in turn, provide not protection, but more death. And I think this person was killed probably, by whatever you want to call it. You want to call it spiritual energy, you want to call it a demon, you want to call it, call it what you want, give it a name. But I think this is probably, definitely with the weird circumstances surrounding this, that was definitely a byproduct of this ritual sacrifice. Just a fucking bizarre story, though, isn't it? Russia can destroy the U.S., says top U.S. Army general. Russia is the only country in the world with the nuclear capability to destroy the U.S., blah, blah, blah. That's exactly why you saw those supposed... The blue healing energy light of the Pleiadians. Oh, over California. Oh, yeah, you fucking New Age twits. That ain't a fucking blue Pleiadian healing light. That's fucking the Angel of Death Triton missiles, motherfucker. And that's why they're testing them. The Russian regime that's in charge, and everybody thought, the Russian threat was over. Bullshit, dude. Those motherfuckers running the show over there now, they're just gangsters. It's just the mob. It's mob rule. You got gangsters and mobsters in charge of the Russian nuclear arsenal now, as opposed to when, the USSR was around, and we were told the big threat. At least then they had a legitimate government. It may have been socialist, communist to the hilt, but these guys, the regime they got over now, are just absolute mafioso criminals. They won't bat an eye to nuke anybody. So this is why you're seeing all of a sudden all these tests, which people are getting duped into believing are UFOs. They're testing this stuff now because, they need to. As soon as you start having governments that are being run top to bottom, and militaries are being run top to bottom, not by people that are, and I guess it's all the same. These people are all mafioso criminals when you get down to it, but the new breed that is taken over in some of these countries, man, even our own, it's just not the same as it used to be. They're a lot more. These guys will launch a nuke in a fucking heartbeat. They don't give a fuck. That's why the whole idea of, a global government and a new world order and all that is in some ways true and in a lot of ways bullshit. Because a lot of these guys like Vladimir Putin and all those, and they're not interested in being on board with anybody's global government. They're interested in, fuck you, we're going to fucking do what we want. If you don't fucking like it, we'll kill your fucking whole country. We don't give a shit. These are insane motherfuckers that have taken over. It's a different breed than the people that were running these global power structures 20, 30, 40 years ago, folks. They're not even the same. Nearly 9,000 artifacts uncovered in California desert spanning 11,500 years of history. Archaeologists exploring the remote reaches of a military training base in Southern California have uncovered nearly 9,000 artifacts that represent more than 11,500 years of human history in the Mojave Desert. Yeah, love that number, don't you? Love how the number goes right at that point when the massive flood event happened, the one that covered up the rock wall. The artifacts found at multiple sites across the base include more than 8,830 stone tools, flakes, ground stone, pieces of ceramic and bone, as well as a single large biface blade that researchers say is a classic example of the 13,000-year-old style known as Clovis. The relics were just a part of the finds produced by a comprehensive survey of the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center, a training base covering more than 2,400 square kilometers, or 930 square miles of desert near the town of 29 Palms, California. That Mojave, I went through the Mojave when I went to Lovelock Cave and all that stuff. Oh, it's wild out there, man. There's no telling what's out there. There's stuff out there people still haven't found. And these Clovis people specifically, these are pre-flood humans. Probably the ones referred to in ancient texts that were sort of they were beasts of burden. Humans were beasts of burden for the Atlanteans. The same way we see cattle, horses as beasts of burden for us, that's what we were for them. That's what humans were, and that's what, when you see a lot of this stuff that's supposed Clovis, and you see the time frames in which it dates to that pre-flood time period, almost exactly to when the flood occurred. Supposedly, that's one of the reasons why the Atlanteans were wiped out, because humans weren't, they were like we look at, if you would think if somebody went and fucked a cow, what would you call it? You call it bestiality. Well, that's essentially how the Atlanteans viewed them, having sex with humans and creating these offspring. It was viewed as bestiality and therefore sin, and they were wiped out and all that stuff. More evidence of Amorite sites found in Israel. These satellite views of ancient earthworks are stirring debate. Images of mysterious shapes, intriguing theories, but solid answers will come from on-the-ground study, archaeologists say. Oh, this is not the same one. Okay. This is a different story. We'll get to the one I was talking about in the Israel Amorite thing in a minute. This is a different story. After watching a television show about ancient pyramids built outside Egypt, Dimitri Day wondered if his own Central Asian nation of Kazakhstan might harbor such exotic ruins. A business manager in the northern city of Kostanay, Day began to study satellite images on Google Earth during his off hours. He found no pyramids, but he did spot dozens of odd human-made features scattered across a remote area of the steppe that's half the size of New Jersey. 8 years after he saw the TV show, Day's unusual discovery is stoking a public debate about these peculiar mounds and earthworks. But again, this is, the reason I brought up the Amorite things, this sounds like this is more their work. Mounds and earthworks, Kazakhstan. These guys were everywhere. And when you see the similarities between these sites, that's when you realize it is true, just like I show in my film Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 1. We get extensively into the Amorite stuff in that. You need to see that film if you haven't seen it. Though barely noticeable on the ground, the forms take on a dazzling array of shapes, including huge circles, crosses, squares, and swastikas when seen from high above. Again, there's the swastika thing. That goes back to the Babylonian sun symbol and all that. Actually, more specifically, not Babylonian. It goes back to the Phoenician, rather. And we know that the Amorites were spawned from the Phoenicians. Archaeologists disagree on the age, purpose, and even the number of features, which are reaping widespread publicity thanks to dramatic satellite images recently released. It required immense effort to build these. An archaeologist at the Lithuanian Institute of History in Vilnius, Matzu Vekutili, god damn, if you've got a last name that's over 15 letters long, I'm just not even going to try to bother to pronounce it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, fucking 20. Your last name has 20 letters in it. I'm not even going to attempt that. Led by Andrei Logvin of Kostanay University, that has studied 2 of the 55 sites identified as human-made features on the Kazakh steppe. The soil there is very heavy, like clay. Yep, just like here. And the earthworks are located in the middle of nowhere. Located in the Taguri region of Kazakhstan in a sparsely populated area. The earthworks include 21 crosses, 1 square, 4 rings, and 1 swastika-like figure. Many cover territory larger than a football field. The group used modern dating techniques that pinpoint construction of one earthwork to 800 BC and another to 750 BC, a time when the Iron Age was dawning in the first towns. There you go. Iron Age. That's goes right back to those Amorites. The dates are accurate within 20 years. Day and his research team claim that the features are as old as 8,000 years, based on the rate of erosion of the mounds, along with finds of Neolithic flints around the site. Mounds, swastikas. I mean, these, and some of these earthworks, they look just like the stuff found in the Ohio Valley, like the Newark earthworks. They look very similar to that. And I bet you $1 to donuts, when they start doing math on this, on these sites, they're going to find 666 all up in there, just like they do in the Newark earthworks and the ones found all across the Ohio Valley. 666 is encoded all in there. Not because that's the mark of the devil or Satan, but because 666 is the number that the Babylonians, who the Amorites and these other cultures came from, used. 666 was the number that they assigned to the sun. And since most of these sites, that's another thing the flat earthers can't they can't argue anything. They'll try to argue anything. They can't explain to you how in the fuck the equinoxes and the solstices happen if the earth is flat. They can't explain how, if the earth was flat, you should be able to go up in the Sears Tower. I've been up in the Sears Tower before. You probably have too, some of you. If you could, if you went up the Sears Tower, you should be able to see the fucking Rocky Mountains from there. You can't even see the edge of Iowa from the top of there. If the earth was flat, you would be able to. You can't. But that's the thing they can't explain away, is the equinoxes and the solstices. And that's what all these ancient sites mark. And that has to do with the sexagesimal base 60 numerical system that the Babylonians had absolute mastery over. And 666 was the number that they assigned to the sun. That's why all these ancient sites, like the Newark earthworks and the Super Mountain and all this stuff, that's why they mark the passage of the sun and equinox and solstice events. And this is why they have 666 encoded into them. And again, that's the number one reason why we know beyond any shadow of a doubt Native Americans didn't build these goddamn mounds. They didn't even have written languages, much less any Native American will tell you. I mean, they didn't have mastery of the base 60 sexagesimal numerical system. Are you kidding me? They didn't have knowledge of anything that sophisticated, and you could not have done that by accident. You couldn't have aligned the Newark earthworks in a direct line straight from the back of the Newark earthworks to the Great Pyramid at Giza either, by happenstance. All this stuff's going to come out, and I'm not going to stop talking about it and beating it and putting it out there, because it's another one of those things that people need to understand and get a grasp of, so they can start to learn how we've been lied to on such a grand scale, yet people are sitting around with their fucking hands on their cocks arguing about the bullshit flat earth. Sick of it. Like I said, it's fucking on now. It doesn't matter how much fucking information you think you have to confuse people with, when we can prove beyond any shadow of doubt that all these people pushing that shit are Freemasons and have been for hundreds of years. The White House is prepping for a single weather event that could cost $2 million in damage. Yet again, I've been telling you, prepare for massive solar flares. Nobody's listening to me. Finally, they're starting to talk about it. To our electric way of life, the sun is a formidable foe, and the White House is taking protective action against it. On October 29th, the White House's National Science and Technology Council released its strategic plan to prepare for an extreme weather event in space that could destroy satellites, spacecraft, and vital telecommunication systems. Many of these electrical systems depend on one another, which is a recipe for disaster. These critical infrastructures make up a diverse, complex, interdependent system of systems in which a failure of one could cascade into another. Every second, the sun shoots bursts of subcharged subatomic particles in the form of solar wind into space at speeds of 1 million miles per hour. Oh, that's the other thing that the flat earthers say. The sun is only like 3,000 miles away from us or something like that. I mean, they're just fucking idiots. Total moronic liars. Oh my God. If an especially powerful barrage heads our way, however, it could easily penetrate our magnetic field, fry our electric power grids, and kick us back into the dark ages, all within a matter of hours. Canada got a minor taste of this back in 1989, when a powerful surge caused the collapse of the Hydro-Quebec's electricity transmission for 9 hours. Oh, the other thing, here's the other thing. If the Earth's flat, wouldn't it be daylight all at the same time, all across the planet? Oh, they see that everything you say, they always say, oh no, well that's just an illusion. The curvature of the Earth, that's an illusion. I'm sick of it. I hope to God there isn't some of our crowd that's bought into this. I mean, I really hope there's some of our. I know there are, and it sucks. But I don't know. I apologize. I do. I'm gonna apologize. I apologize. I got a little too worked up there earlier. I take back what I said about go fuck yourself, kill yourself. You believe in the flat earth thing. I take that back. But help me prove to you that this stuff is an operation. Support my work and help me be able to do this. Then if you still want to go on believing it after you see what I'm going to present, fuck it. More power to you. San Diego standoff suspect mouths Illuminati in bizarre court appearance. This is very strange. A suspect who prompted a standoff in San Diego and forced the Federal Aviation Administration to issue a ground stop at San Diego International Airport made a bizarre appearance in court. Titus Nathan Colbert threw up gang signs and mouthed the word Illuminati. The 33-year-old, also cut the judge off as he advised him of his rights. May 1st, 1776, Colbert repeated at least 3 times. On Wednesday, Colbert allegedly fired several shots from his ex-girlfriend's apartment complex near West Colima and Brant Streets in the Bankers Hill neighborhood, narrowly missing an officer. He surrendered following a 5-hour standoff. San Diego Police Chief Shelley Zimmerman said authorities recovered an AK-47 type assault rifle and a handgun. Yeah, this just to me sounds like another one of these. He's probably believed in the flat earth too. I'm telling you, man, I've said this once, I'll say it again. You can't put, that's the problem with, we all want this type of research and work to get out there to more people, but some people just don't need it. Because some of this stuff, man, it's like throwing fuel on the fire to people that are already, mentally unstable, and it just pushes them right over the edge. Have you guys heard the rumors going around about supposedly this has been going around for a while now, but it's kind of hyped back up in the past week or so, past couple of weeks rather. But supposedly the word around the campfire is the big thing going around is that there's some big Hollywood superstar who has AIDS. who's HIV positive. And there's been all kinds of guesses and rumors going around about who it is. A world famous actor is hiding a shocking secret over fears his fans will hate him. Decades of debauchery have finally caught up with one of Hollywood's top megastars. In a bombshell world exclusive, RadarOnline.com can reveal that a bad boy Tinseltown star has been hiding an explosive secret from the world. He's HIV positive. Multiple informed sources confirm the world-famous actor, whom Radar has chosen not to identify, has been diagnosed with a deadly virus that usually leads to AIDS itself. The middle-aged star learned at least 2 years ago, now remember that, at least 2 years ago that he had contracted HIV, but he has desperately hidden it from the world, terrified his fans will turn against him. The individual confided this medical bombshell to friends as far back as October 2014. The star, known for a playboy lifestyle filled with one-night stands and sex-for-hire partners, has been devastated over his plight since doctors diagnosed the condition, according to a friend. But anyway, there's been all sorts of speculation on who this could be, who it is. And I've done some research on it and looking into it and the rest of it. And I believe beyond any shadow of a doubt that this is Charlie Sheen. Absolutely. This is absolutely Charlie Sheen. A lot of stuff that we've heard about Charlie Sheen over the past couple of years makes a lot more sense when you look at it in this light, especially a lot of the hints they dropped about, the women he's gone out with and stuff. This supposed person who has it. But I mean, a couple of years ago, he was engaged to that Brooke Mueller or whatever her name was. And I think they had a couple of kids together, and they were supposed to get married. And right when they were supposed to get married, they broke it off. And she supposedly went to rehab. And then Denise Richards, who was Charlie Sheen's other ex-wife who had kids with, all of a sudden adopted him and Brooke Mueller's kids and took them. That was odd. That was strange. Well, supposedly what had happened when she broke that off was she was injecting drugs and stuff, and she had gotten HIV, and I think Charlie had gotten it from her or something. Anyway, that's why Denise Richards ended up taking over the kids. That makes so much sense now. But the latest, it says this particular actor says many of this actor's friends and associates have been saying for weeks that he has HIV. And that they consider him a public health risk. I'll tell you another thing that makes a lot of sense too. The other rumor is that supposedly one of the people that he gave it to was none other than Lindsay Lohan. And when I heard that, I went, oh, really? Well, that makes sense, because a couple of years ago, Lindsay, when she got in all that legal trouble or something, or just out of the clear blue nowhere, even though it's never been, those two have never been seen together, Charlie Sheen, just out of the clear blue nowhere, pays off all her bills for her. Well, obviously that was hush money, because there's been another porn star who's living in $1 million mansion with her boyfriend, who claimed that Charlie Sheen gave her HIV and that he paid her off. Basically, he's been spending all his money to pay all these people off. My question is, here's the strange thing about it for me. As soon as I heard about this and I started thinking about it being Charlie Sheen, I'll tell you who the first person that came to my mind was. And you know who I'm about to say, Alex Jones. Hey, Jonesy, you might want to go get yourself an HIV test, because, I'm sorry. I heard him several times talking about, folks, I just got back from hanging out with Charlie Sheen all weekend. I was hanging out in Hollywood with Charlie at his house. We had a bunch of celebrities over there. They're all watching my movies. They all know about the New World Order, folks. What about when he went on The View and said, folks, I've seen Charlie's hernia, folks, I've seen it. Did you catch the HIV while you were up in there looking at that fucking hernia, Jones? But no, really, I'll tell you the real reason why Jones popped up to me is because if you see my film, The Secret Right Volume 2, you see the connections that I make in there with Adnan Khashoggi and Genesis Communications and all that stuff, and those connections to Jones. And, there's no question about it that the singer Freddie Mercury from the band Queen was deliberately given AIDS and then killed by the AZT and the drugs that supposedly are supposed to help you, but that's actually what kills you and gives you the disease. I've done extensive research on this. It'll be in probably Spellcasters too. But just to sum it up for you real quickly, the GlaxoSmithKline pharmaceutical company created these things called poppers, and they were huge in the homosexual underworld in the 80s. Freddie Mercury was known to do them. These poppers, I think they're called amyl nitrate or something like that, but they made orgasm more intense when, you're fucking dude in the ass or dude's fucking you in the ass or whatever. And GlaxoSmithKline created these poppers, and then they just run rampant in the homosexual community. Well, what people don't know is that when you go and when the AIDS tests were based on these markers that these poppers leave in your system after you do it. So who then created the drugs like AZT and others that were given to supposed AIDS victims? GlaxoSmithKline. So GlaxoSmithKline created the poppers that would produce markers in a person's body that when a doctor does tests, the doctor will see those markers. The scientific community built up this belief that these markers were the markers of HIV and AIDS. They would then prescribe AZT and these other drugs that were created by the same company, GlaxoSmithKline, that would then cause the breakdown of the immune system, all the classic things, the wasting away that we see. The whole thing was a fucking scam. And, one of the main characters that's been associated with all these major operations like this for 50-something years has been Adnan Khashoggi. And he's known for hanging out with musicians and Hollywood types. One of the things that Jones has always prided himself on is how many celebrities and musicians he knows and how many he's had on his show. It's not a coincidence, folks. I mean, his whole phony miracle product scheme that he does on his networks and his shows that came from Adnan Khashoggi. Go watch my film, Secret Right 2. Freddie Mercury, at some point, I've never been able to find the whole story, but at some point they found that just prior to him having his diagnosis of AIDS, partied on a boat with none other than Adnan Khashoggi. And 2 years before he died, on the next to the last album they ever put out called The Miracle, there's a song on there written by Freddie Mercury called Khashoggi's Ship. And they talk about partying on this ship, and he talks about there's a weird lyric in there where he talks about there was some big man who wanted to arrest me and something in there. It's just really like shady and weird. I've tried to find any information I can on this. There isn't any. So immediately for me, I went, oh, you know what? Maybe it was Khashoggi. Maybe that was where Freddie Mercury acquired, this HIV. And then I think about the fact that Dodi Fayed was his nephew, Adnan Khashoggi's nephew. Dodi Fayed was having an affair with Princess Diana. And then they offed her and made it look like an accident when it wasn't an accident, just like they, off people, giving them AIDS and making it look like it's something else. Hell, Suge Knight, I remember watching the first ever episode of the Jimmy Kimmel Show, and Suge Knight was on there, and Suge Knight said on the very first episode ever of the Jimmy Kimmel Show, Well, yeah, if you want to kill somebody and make it look like it's not murder, you just, get a needle that had somebody that somebody had AIDS with and prick them with it, and they'll get AIDS and die, and it won't be murder. Just ask Eazy-E. Suge Knight said that on TV, dude. So it's a known thing that they, inject people and make it look like they die from things they didn't die from. So that's what I started thinking about was, oh shit, this connection with Khashoggi and Jones is like, is that why Charlie Sheen went from being, not normal, but a relatively normal guy to then going on the Alex Jones show in like 2006, 2007, being big buddies with Jones, and then all of a sudden in a couple years, he becomes the highest paid TV actor, talks about 9/11, becomes the highest paid TV actor, has a big meltdown, and the one person they roll out, you can see this and see right too, to defend him out of all the people is Alex Jones? I mean, even that seemed bizarre to me when it happened. So I'm going to be the first to put this out there, just based on my other research and adding in Khashoggi and all these connections. I'm going to put it out there that I think it's quite possible that Jones was some sort of handler for Charlie Sheen, who was some sort of guy who was probably using the mind control techniques that he's learned that I'm going to be detailing in the Spellcasters through his association with Scientology, and of course the show that comes on after his, the Health Ranger guy, Mike Adams, whose website is owned by Stubblebine, who, as I talked about recently, the Men Who Stare at Goats thing and all that. Stubblebine was one of those guys in that was involved in all that MK Ultra stuff and the Mind War stuff. I mean, the connections never cease to end. I think Jones may have been in charge of handling Charlie Sheen's coming out about 9/11, and then, subsequently, maybe even possibly had a hand in infecting him with AIDS and HIV. I mean, look at the connections. Unfucking believable stuff, folks. This is what I've been trying to warn you about all these years. Nobody wants to listen. They just want to keep talking about all the other bullshit. All right, let's see what else we got here. Robots are putting people out to pasture. Real estate billionaire Jeff Green warns that human jobs are fast being replaced by artificial intelligence. Well, duh. That's the plan. Then they can start wiping us all out. We won't need all of us anymore. That's the whole plan. That's what all the environmentalists and the global warming fanatics and all that, that's what they want to do. They can't wait to do it. Billionaire Jeff Green has warned that the day will soon come when robots are replaced, or rather humans are replaced in the workforce by robots. The Florida real estate mogul said that workers could be put out to pasture in the same way horses were when they were replaced by cars and tractors because of the exponential growth of artificial intelligence. When we first had the internal combustion engine, the horseless carriages, as the cars were called, look at all the horses they put out in the blah, blah, blah. This guy, I mean, for a billionaire, this guy talks like a fucking moron. Well, that's all well and fine, Mr. Green, but what are you going to do with your billions of dollars to stop it? Probably not a goddamn thing. In fact, this guy's probably, I don't know this, but he's probably invested in some of this stuff. I mean, it's all well and fine for these billionaires, these guys to talk about this stuff, but you know what? How about spending your billions to try and keep it from happening, instead of just talking like a moron and making references to horseless carriages and shit like that? Come on, give me a break. Yet another story. Here we go. Yet another one. U.S. Army reveals mind-reading super soldier system that could help military analysts sift through surveillance data. Army scientists have revealed a high-tech mind-reading system that could help analysts sift through data. The Mission Impact Through Neurotechnology Design, or MIND system, cute acronym there, sounds like something the DARPA boys cooked up, I'm sure, analyzes a soldier's brainwaves. Researchers have shown that the system can already distinguish what the soldier is thinking about. They say it could one day help intelligence analysts sift through vast amounts of data, right? So we want to take everything that you've experienced in a combat setting and then analyze it through a supercomputer system and then put that into a robot. I mean, oh man, oh man, oh man. It's not science fiction anymore. Oh, this is an interesting story. I immediately thought about the Anunnaki when I saw this story. Could humans the size of chickens be the future of mankind? Now that's interesting because we talked recently about chickens and how they're strangely evolving quicker than anything else, and of course the whole conundrum of which came first, the chicken or the egg, being solved by the fact that chickens were supposedly introduced here by the Anunnaki as a food source. But that's one of the things it talks about in some of those ancient texts. It talks about switching off the long life gene in humans because they knew when they started creating humans and the way that they created humans to reproduce and whatnot, that they had to restrict the human lifespan because overpopulation was going to be a problem. And there's been speculation that, things like stories of gnomes and, small people and, trolls and that kind of thing. I mean, there was a story recently. Did you guys see that? I don't know if it was true or not. I saw it. It looked weird as fuck to me. A lady just randomly took a picture and there was like a fucking little troll. It reminded me of that movie from the 80s, Cat's Eye. You guys remember that movie? I loved that movie when I was a kid. God, I loved that movie. My dad used to always flip out of the James Woods part, where he, remember that shit where he tried to quit smoking and they had the room where they'd electrocute his wife. Crazy shit. That's a great fucking movie. I watched it, about a year or so ago, and I was surprised how well it still held up. But, there's been speculation that that's what were trolls, and some people believe even why there's the genetic variant of midgets and whatnot are in our DNA because of this genetic tinkering where they were trying to create smaller and smaller people because, as we know, they were supposedly giants. So they were trying to find a way to make a smaller version of themselves. And, again, just like we've seen them, medical science now talking about switching on and off things in the genes, just like the Anunnaki talked about. Well, now they're talking about trying to make smaller humans. For much of the history of humankind, bigger has been better. As our ancestors got taller, they became faster, stronger, allowing them to better hunt for food and avoid predators. But in a world where we no longer need to fight for our meals, our height offers no real advantage. In fact, we could shrink our size down to just 50 centimeters. We would only need 2 to 5% of the resources required by an average-sized human. So again, this is going to be another part of their depopulation agenda, I believe. Let's turn everything into controlled by robots, and then let's shrink humans down to the size of a chicken. It's amazing when you look at it, folks. It seems like our entire history as a species, our entire destiny has just been going in reverse. I mean, it's pretty clear that we've been devolving. Humans have been, by design, we've been getting stupider. We're being dumbed down. I mean, it does seem that they just want to take us back to, this original sort of blueprint that these Anunnaki had laid out when they genetically engineered humans. It's unbelievable. Third mystery Death Star spaceball to crash into Spanish village sparks terror among locals as mayor demands authorities to explain what they are. A third mysterious black space object to fall from the sky into rural Spain has caused panic among locals. The strange-looking black orb was found in the village of Villavejava in Murcia, becoming the latest instance of increasingly bewildering phenomenon. It is not yet known what the objects are, although theories range from UFOs to pieces of space debris. The first instance of the strange phenomenon occurred 1 week ago when Spanish goat farmers discovered the strange object, which bears a striking resemblance to the Star Wars torture device, the Ito Interrogator. Oh yeah, that black thing that in the first one, remember that? Fucking like flies in, syringes and shit sticking out of it. I think they tried to use it on Leia, or they did use it on Princess Leia. I think it's, personally, looking at these things, I think this is something to do with the orbs that people see around chemtrails and whatnot. I've wondered for the longest time, because, I mean, those are real. I've seen them on multiple occasions. We've got pictures of them, videos of them. I've seen them out and about with friends, and they've seen them too. But I've wondered, how these things got to crash sometimes. That's what I think it is. I think they're somehow, I don't think they're UFOs or alien. I think they're things that are connected to the chemtrail phenomenon. All right, well, I think that's going to about wrap up this edition of the show, folks. I want to thank everybody for tuning and being with us. We don't have commercials. We don't have advertisers. We don't have sponsors. We don't have any of that stuff here, folks. The only way we're able to survive and make films and do radio shows and get this information out is by you, the listener, supporting our work. And we need some cash in here right now. We are running on empty. I've got 2 or 3 films in the works. You want to get your name in the film. You want to be a part of this. I want you to be a part of it. That's the main reason I want you to contribute to my film and get your name in the film or do any of this stuff. I want you to be a part of this. I want you to have a piece of this. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, when it's all said and done, if we're in internment camps or we're all dead or whatever, whatever plane of existence we wind up on, at the end of the day, I'm going to know, no matter what happens, that goddamn it, I tried. And I tried to educate humanity, and I tried to keep my fellow humans from going out like chumps. I mean, just to put it bluntly. And I want you to have that satisfaction as well. So support my films. Get your name in the films. Go to my Global Reality Facebook page. Hit our donation banners and our film project campaign fundraisers. Do it now and help us out, folks. My name's Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you next time. Take care.